Look, I warned about this damn war months ago. I said it when almost everyone in Washington was still cracking jokes and telling themselves Iran was contained. I stood here and told you straight, this isn't going to be another quick win. This is a trap. And we walked right into it. Now what? We're already in the game. Last night I sat there watching the reports, missiles, drones, hitting places we always called no go zones. I didn't say a word. 40 years I've been inside this machine, Army, Pentagon, State Department, advising secretaries of state. I watched us repeat the same stupid mistakes in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thought I'd seen every flavor of delusion this town can produce. But this one, it feels completely different because my warning wasn't some clever theory or political positioning. It was pattern recognition, the kind you earn after watching the same machine fail long enough. And right now, the whole thing is speeding up faster than even I thought it would. The costs are piling up. The excuses are wearing thin, and I'm done biting my tongue. I don't want to be right. Hell, I really don't. But here we are. So let me ask you something real. You actually believe this ends the way the networks are selling it? America wins, packs up, and sails home? Or do you already feel somewhere in your gut that this is turning into something much bigger and uglier? Because I've run the numbers, I've studied the ground, I've watched these players for decades, and today I'm laying it out. No sugar, no spin, no comforting bullshit. You need to hear it because whatever comes next is going to hit every single one of us. You know what's fucking crazy? Just last week, they were still standing on TV saying this would all be wrapped up in a few months. Now look at us. So here's what I'm actually laying out for you today: how Iran is humiliating the most expensive military machine on the planet using nothing but cheap drones and sheer balls. Why America's own generals are losing their shit behind closed doors. And the single decision that's going to decide how ugly this gets, whether we're dumb enough to put boots on the ground again. But most importantly, I'm going to tell you exactly how this war really ends. Not the polished, feel good version they're feeding everyone, the actual one. You ready for that? Because once you hear it, there's no going back. If you're watching this right now, do me a solid, smash that like button, subscribe to US Power Watch, and turn on notifications. It helps get this in front of more people who aren't buying the lies. We're going deep today. Let me take you back. Early 2024. Most people were laughing at me. They said I was out of my mind, told me Trump could never win again, that there was zero chance of war with Iran. Everything was stable, they said. Everything was under control. I still stood here and laid out three things anyway. One, Trump is winning. Two, America is heading into a war with Iran. Three, and this was the one nobody wanted to hear, America is going to lose that war, and that loss is going to break everything. They called me alarmist. Some called me anti-American. A few even labeled me a conspiracy nut. But I wasn't guessing. I wasn't spinning shit. I was speaking from 40 goddamn years inside the machine, Army, Pentagon, Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell. I saw how the decisions really get made. I saw the arrogance. I saw how little they understood the real world. I knew the petrodollar was on life support. I knew the empire was stretched too thin, and I knew Iran had been waiting for this exact moment for decades. Now look at where we are. Trump's back in the White House. We're in a hot war with Iran. Missiles are flying, prices are spiking, and regular Americans are starting to feel the hurt. I'm not here to gloat and say, I told you so. I get zero pleasure from this. I'm here because shit has gotten too serious to keep quiet. The pace is picking up fast, the risks are getting bigger, and the American people deserve the truth about where this is really headed. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how this war ends, not the Pentagon briefing version, not the cable news fairy tale, the real one. You ready? Now, let me tell you what's really happening on the battlefield right now. This is not the clean surgical war they're showing you on television. Iran has completely flipped the script. They're not fighting like Iraq in 2003. They're fighting smart, cheap, and in swarms. Every single night, they flood the sky with hundreds of drones and missiles at once. Some slow and dumb, some fast and precise. Different directions, different altitudes. Our defense systems are getting absolutely overwhelmed. Think about the insanity of this for a second. One Iranian drone costs around $50,000. One American interceptor missile to take it down, anywhere from 3 million to 10 million. Let that sink in. They spend 50 grand. We spend 100 times that, sometimes 200 times just to swat one drone. And they're sending them in wave after wave. Our stockpiles are being drained dry faster than we can replace them. The most powerful military on earth is literally racing against its own ammunition. I've seen the classified reports. Our Patriot batteries, Aegis destroyers, even the THAAD systems, none of them were built for this kind of war. They were designed for a handful of high value targets, not hundreds of low cost threats coming from every direction at once. And here's the part that should scare the hell out of every American. We might be winning the air war on paper, but we cannot win this war from the sky alone. History has beaten that lesson into us over and over. You don't regime change a country of 90 million people with mountains and underground fortresses by dropping bombs from 30,000 feet. Iran has been preparing for exactly this for 25 years. Their factories are buried. Their command centers are deep in the mountains. Their launchers keep moving. Hit one site, three more pop up somewhere else. I keep asking myself the same damn question. How long can we actually keep this up? Every day the costs climb higher. Every week Americans feel it more at the gas pump, in the grocery aisle, in their shrinking retirement accounts. And the Iranian people, they're not cracking. If anything, the attacks are hardening them. This is the ugly truth they don't want you to see. We're bleeding money. We're burning through weapons we can't quickly replace. And Iran is still standing, still hitting back, still controlling the Strait of Hormuz. This is not sustainable. And the most dangerous part, the same people in Washington who dragged us into this war still refuse to admit reality. They keep talking about degrading Iran's capabilities and how victory is just around the corner. But those of us who've actually been in real wars, we can see exactly where this is heading. In the next part, I'll show you how limited our options really are and why sending ground troops would be the worst mistake we've made in my lifetime. Stay with me. It gets even darker from here. Let me be brutally honest with you. This isn't just another Middle East shit show. This is Iran proving to the world that it is not Iraq, it is not Libya, it is not Syria, and America is learning that painful lesson in real time. I've studied Iran for decades. I've read every intel assessment that exists. I've sat in those windowless rooms where we war gamed every scenario against them. And I can tell you this with zero bullshit. Iran has been preparing for exactly this war for over 25 years, not 25 months. 25 years. They watched us take out Saddam. They watched Gaddafi get sodomized in the street after he gave up his nukes. They learned and they prepared. First, the geography. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, full of mountains that turn any invasion into a butcher's bill. The Zagros Range cuts right through the country like a goddamn fortress wall. Their most important sites are buried deep underground bases, command centers, and missile factories that air power can't touch. You can't bomb a country like this into submission. We dropped more bombs on Vietnam than all of World War II combined. They didn't quit. Iran won't either. Second, the people, 90 million of them. And unlike Iraq in 2003, they're unified on one thing. This is an existential fight for their survival as a nation. 45 years of sanctions and they still haven't broken. When you hit Iran, you're not fighting an army, you're fighting an entire people. Now, the part that actually scares our own generals, Iran has perfected the cheap swarm, shade drones, suicide drones, recon drones built in hidden workshops across the country. Destroy one factory and they just move the line to basements and schools. It's insanely resilient. They're ballistic missiles. Some are hypersonic, thousands of them. They can reach anywhere in the region in minutes. But what worries me most is their air defense, a messy mix of old Russian gear, Chinese parts, and homegrown systems. It's not as fancy as ours on paper, but it doesn't need to be. It's built to overwhelm and exhaust us, and it's working. Our own classified simulations, the ones I've seen, painted a nightmare. Lost ships, lost aircraft, and hundreds, if not thousands, of American dead if we ever put boots on the ground. Which brings us to the question nobody in Washington wants to say out loud, what the hell is our endgame? Do we seriously think we can bomb Iran's nuclear program into oblivion from the air? Do we believe we can force regime change without soldiers on the ground? History says that's pure fantasy. Air power alone has never toppled a determined enemy. Not once. We're repeating the exact same mistakes I watched us make in Iraq and Afghanistan, underestimating the enemy, overestimating our technology, and ignoring the human factor until it's too late. Iran isn't bluffing. They built this capability in plain sight while we were busy elsewhere. Their scientists, engineers, and soldiers have one mission: make attacking Iran so expensive that America eventually walks away. And right now, they're winning. So here's the hard truth: we are not fighting a weak, backward nation. We're up against a sophisticated, patient, and extremely resilient adversary that turns sanctions into self reliance, isolation into alliances with Russia and China, and the threat of invasion into national unity. This is why I keep speaking out, because I've seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well for empires that refuse to learn from history. In the next section, I'm going to lay out the real limits of American power here, the political pressure, the economic pain, and the decision that could finally break this country. But before we go there, I want you to ask yourself one question. If Iran can do all this while the whole world is against them, what does that really say about the state of American power in 2026? Think about it. Let me tell you what's really happening inside the American system right now. This is the part they never show on television. I still have friends, solid men and women inside the Pentagon and State Department. What they're telling me off the record is completely different from the polished bullshit you hear in the official briefings. They're worried. Some are pissed off. A few are starting to quietly panic. First problem: Israel. The pressure from Tel Aviv is insane. They want us to finish the job. They want full regime change in Iran. They're pushing hard behind the scenes for American ground troops because they know airstrikes alone won't kill the nuclear program or break Iran's will. And they remind Washington every single day. Then you've got the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. They're getting hammered by Iranian missiles too, so they're screaming at us to protect them. But at the same time, I know they're already quietly talking to Tehran, hedging their bets. They can smell the wind shifting. Right now, we've got multiple carrier strike groups out there, the Abraham Lincoln, the Theodore Roosevelt, some of our biggest assets, burning millions of dollars a day, just sitting there. Sure, they can launch strikes and knock down some drones, but they can't occupy Iran. And if Iran decides to shut down the Strait of Hormuz for real, those carriers can't magically open it back up. Here's the question that actually keeps me up at night. How long can a superpower afford to fight a war it can't win? Because the economic reality is getting impossible to hide. Oil prices are already jumping. Shipping is disrupted. Insurance rates for tankers are skyrocketing. Gas, groceries, fertilizer, everything is going up. American families are starting to feel it in their wallets, and we all know what happens next. When gas hits $5 or $6 a gallon, public support for the war collapses. We saw it in Vietnam. We saw it in Iraq. It's happening again right now. Polls are already dropping fast. Only about 40% still support this thing, and that number is going to keep falling as American body bags start coming home. Then there's the political mess in Washington. Trump ran on ending endless wars. America first, he said. Now he's trapped in exactly the kind of war he promised to avoid. His own base is turning sour. The opposition is getting louder. Inside the White House, I'm told the meetings are getting ugly. The military-industrial complex wants this to drag on. There's money to be made. But the people who actually understand logistics and history know this can't go on forever. Let me be clear. America doesn't have the blank check it had in 1991 or even 2003 anymore. Our industrial base is hollowed out. Shipyards are slow. We can't crank out missiles and interceptors at the rate we're burning them. We're the strongest military on paper, but paper has its limits when it meets reality. This is what empires always forget. They overestimate their power and underestimate how badly their enemy wants to survive. Iran is fighting for its existence. What are we fighting for exactly? Oil, influence, the petrodollar, pride? The American people are starting to ask that question. And when they do, political will evaporates. It always does. I've seen this movie before. I lived through Vietnam. I don't want to watch my country repeat the same damn tragedy. So here's the dangerous choice we're facing. Option one, we keep it in air and naval war, bomb, strike, degrade their capabilities, then look for a face saving exit. A managed retreat. Option two, we listen to the Hawks and send in ground troops. That would be a historic catastrophe. Iran has 90 million people and a mountainous country full of tunnels and underground bases. A real invasion would need hundreds of thousands of troops and probably a draft. 18 and 19-year-old American kids sent into those mountains. You think the public would swallow that? I don't. It would tear this country in half. The real question isn't whether we can defeat Iran. It's how much damage we're willing to inflict on ourselves before we finally admit the truth. I'm speaking out because I love this country. I served it for 40 years. I don't want to see it weakened or humiliated, but pride and denial have destroyed stronger empires than ours. In the final part, I'm going to lay out exactly how I see this war ending, the likely timelines, the scenarios, and what the world will look like when America eventually pulls out of the Middle East. But before we get there, sit with this for a second. We are no longer the unchallenged superpower we once were. The world has changed. Our enemies have adapted, and our own people are exhausted by endless war. The clock is ticking. Stay with me. The conclusion is coming, and it's heavy. Now we come to the part I've been wrestling with for months. The part I didn't want to say out loud until I was forced to. How does this war actually end? After 40 years in this game, here's the cold truth as I see it. There are only two paths. Both of them suck for America. First path. We stick with the air and naval campaign. No boots on the ground. Just keep bombing, keep firing missiles, keep trying to degrade Iran's capabilities. In this scenario, the war drags on for months, maybe a couple of years. Costs keep climbing. Our interceptor stockpiles keep shrinking. Oil stays expensive. The American public gets more pissed and exhausted every week. Eventually, the pressure becomes unbearable. Even for a tough guy like Trump or whoever's sitting in the chair, they'll go on TV one day and declare some version of victory. We seriously damaged their nuclear program. We sent a strong message. Mission accomplished. We're bringing our boys home. But here's what will actually happen behind the scenes. America will quietly pull out of the Middle East. Bases will close or shrink. The Gulf states will hedge like crazy, some tilting toward Iran, others clinging to Israel. The petrodollar takes a serious beating. And Iran, still standing, still controlling the Strait of Hormuz, emerges as a real regional power for the first time in decades. It won't be total collapse for us, but it will be a major strategic defeat, a managed retreat from the region we've dominated for 80 years. Now, the second path. This is the dangerous one. If the pressure from Israel and the Gulf states becomes too much, and the hawks in Washington win the argument, we make the fatal mistake. We send in ground troops. Let me be crystal clear. That would be one of the dumbest decisions in American history. Iran has 90 million people and brutal mountainous terrain. They've spent 25 years building exactly the kind of defenses that turn invasions into nightmares, underground cities, decentralized command, weapons designed to shred armored columns and helicopters, and a population that thinks it's fighting for survival. If we put boots on the ground, everything explodes. Iraq and Yemen open new fronts. Our Gulf bases come under direct attack. We'd need hundreds of thousands of troops. That means a draft. 18 and 19-year-old American kids thrown into a meat grinder in the Persian mountains. You think the American public would stand for that? I don't. It would rip this country apart politically, socially, and financially. It could break the all-volunteer military for good. I've run these scenarios in my head hundreds of times. The conclusion is always the same. We won't choose the ground invasion. The smart ones left in the system will kill that idea. The cost is simply too high. Even Trump will eventually get pulled aside by generals who actually understand logistics. So here's my prediction. One, there will be no full scale ground invasion of Iran. Maybe some special forces raids or attempts to grab islands in the strait, but no major land war. Two, America will begin withdrawing from the Middle East within 12 to 24 months. Economic pain, political pressure, and military reality will force an exit. They'll call it victory, but everyone who matters will know it's not. Three, after we leave, the Middle East will reorganize around two real powers, Iran in the east, controlling energy routes and cozying up with Russia and China, and Israel in the west with its tech and money. The Gulf states will split between them, a new, colder balance of power. And here's the bigger picture nobody wants to say out loud. When America leaves the Middle East, we don't just lose a region, we lose the foundation of the petrodollar system, the thing that let us print money and run massive deficits for decades. When that weakens, the whole financial architecture of American power shifts. The world is turning multipolar faster than Washington wants to admit. I've studied empires my whole life. Rome, Britain, Athens. In 415 BC, Athens, the strongest city state in Greece, sent its best fleet and soldiers to conquer Sicily. They were arrogant, they overreached. That expedition destroyed them. Their empire never recovered. I see some very uncomfortable parallels right now. We're not finished as a nation. America is tough and resourceful, but we have to face reality. We need to stop pretending we can run the world, retrench, rebuild our industrial base, and put our own people first. This war was a mistake born of pure hubris. The longer we deny it, the more we'll bleed. I didn't want to be right about any of this. I warned early because I hoped we'd listen. Now that we're here, I'm speaking again because the American people deserve the truth, not comforting lies from TV generals. The exit is coming. It's going to be messy. It'll be humiliating for some, but it doesn't have to be the end of America. It can be the start of a wiser, tougher, more sustainable one. The question isn't whether we leave, it's how much pain we're willing to endure before we accept the inevitable. I've said what I believe. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think happens next? Can we actually learn from this, or will we double down like always? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. This matters. Thank you for staying with me through this heavy conversation. I don't take your time for granted. This is Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Stay safe, stay informed, and God bless.